Hello, for everyone waiting. We understood that the second night of Rosh Hashanah ended with sundown, probably about 6:45 p.m. I decided we would just delay this for about another 10 minutes, so it'd be about half an hour for everyone to get here if they were observant. I figured that was a sufficient thing to do to acknowledge the date. So commissioners should be here about 7:15. We'll be starting then. Good evening, everybody. It is 7:15. We're going to call this meeting to order. Regular session of the Planning Commission. Can we have the roll, please?
Commissioner Van Galen,
Present.
Commissioner Jones,
Present.
Commissioner Black, Vice Chair Carter,
Present.
Chairman Thay.
Present.
Thank you. We have 5 commissioners present.
Thank you. And I see Assistant City Manager Jesse Mays is here. Who would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Do we have any public comment for items not on the agenda?
Yes, we do, Chair. We have 2 speakers signed up.
All right, well, 3 minutes each.
Our first speaker is Edward Chonaki. He's not in chambers and he's not online. Our next speaker is Ann Garrett. We do not have any further speakers.
Okay, neither one is online or on ours. Okay. All right. We received some correspondence. Can I get a motion to accept and file the correspondence, please?
Sorry, who moved? Didn't pick.
I did.
Carter, thank you. And second?
I did.
Thank you. Moved by Vice Chair Carter, second by Commissioner Black. Please vote. Thank you. Motion passes with 5 ayes.
Okay, next order, we have the consent calendar. This would be the Planning Commission meeting minutes of August 13th, 2025. Is there any discussion, or can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Who moved?
Commissioner Jones.
Thank you. Moved by Commissioner Jones, second by Vice Chair Carter. Please vote. Thank you. Motion passes with 4 ayes.
Okay, and next is a discussion of the order of the agenda. We do typically do public hearing items before we do action items. Tonight, we have a large number of presenters, city staff here for A1, so I'd like to take A1 first and move the public hearing to the end of the agenda. So with that being said, we have a staff report on item A1.
Good evening, Honorable Chair and Commissioners. Jesse Mays, Assistant City Manager. Good to be with you this evening. I'm excited to kick off tonight's short presentations of 5 different proposals for the redevelopment of the city-owned property at 11029 Washington Boulevard, otherwise known as the former Reading Gun Store. The city purchased the property in 2023. After a robust public input process, which took place in late 2024, the City Council this past April directed staff to issue a request for proposals for a redevelopment project at the site that would include housing, commercial, and community space. The City Council indicated a preference, but not a requirement, for affordable housing on the site. The City Council indicated a willingness to consider modifying regulations for the site if it will result in a better project. At the City Council meeting on July 9th, the City Council directed staff to ask the Planning Commission to recommend the top proposal to the City Council. Proposals were due on August 28th. The city received 5 proposals that met all requirements. A panel of city staff reviewed the 5 proposals using the criteria specified in the request for proposals. That criteria is seen here, and it's a little small. so I'll read them off. They include points for development, vision, and design quality, affordable housing program, development team experience, financial feasibility and capability, community and commercial space plan, city revenue generation, community engagement strategy, public benefit commitments, and overall responsiveness and completeness of the application. The maximum possible score was 100 points. The total staff scores for each proposal are shown here. I will note that the staff report erroneously included a score of 90 for Venice Community Housing Corporation. Their total score was actually 89, and that was my mistake in totaling the numbers. The detailed score for each proposer is shown here and has been shared with the commissioners. And I will now turn it over to the 5 presenters for each to give a 5-minute presentation.
Okay, well, before we begin, I just do want to say that I always think it's important for the public to get a chance to comment before the commissioners make a lot of substantive comments or questions that really get at substantive comments. So what I'm going to do is ask the presenters to come up one at a time, and then we will, after each presentation, we in the commission will have an opportunity to ask questions that are really clarifying for things we just didn't understand. Then after the presenters are done, we'll have an opportunity as a commission to ask questions of all of them, so please stick around for that, and make substantive comments after this. After the presenters are done with that, we'll then have public comment. After that public comment, then the commissioners will get to ask questions of the presenters in more detail to explore it in greater detail after we have public comment first. We have 5 minutes allotted for each of these presenters. The timer, unfortunately, will be seen by Ruth and only by Ruth, so I know that people will likely go over, and we will be gentle about all of that. Let's see. So we'll just take them in the order they have the attachments. Does that make sense? So that would be West Holly would be first.
Good evening, honorable commissioners. I'd like to thank you for having us here tonight. My name is Jesse Slansky. I'm the president and CEO of West Hollywood Community Housing Corporation. With me tonight are Anu Patel, our director of real estate development, who will tell you a little bit about our vision, along with our architects, EYRC, who are here to answer any questions. The next slide, please. Next slide, please. We are a community-based nonprofit organization. Our mission is building homes and providing services that move community members from insecurity to stability, and we've been doing it almost 40 years. Next slide, please. We now have almost 1,300 residents in 950 units in 24 properties in 4 cities, including the beautiful Pump Canyon, which you see here in Palm Springs, which just completed construction about 2 weeks ago and is leasing up as we speak. As you can see, we really pride ourselves on architecturally distinguished and amenity-rich projects. And with that, I will let you hear from Anoop with our vision for this site. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Jesse. Next slide, please. This is EYRC, so this is our architect. Next slide, please. And so for our design concept, next slide, please. We were inspired by the Culver City Hotel, and so taking cues from that, we incorporated a Renaissance revival style and added a modern touch. The simple yet elegant form is crafted to create a facade that's broken up into 3 tiers. The top floor is set back to help provide relief for the massing. This layered design adds rhythm and depth while enriching both the streetscape and the pedestrian experience. Next slide, please. Our goal was to deliver the maximum housing while enhancing the city's goal of activating the corridor. We achieved this by introducing 5 artist studio lofts along Washington Corridor. This gives an opportunity for expanded housing opportunities, but also allows for pop-up retail opportunities as well. To make the construction as efficient as possible, we stacked 62 units above. These units are modular in design and can be prefabricated off-site. The 67-unit combined project is incorporated into 2 wings. The north wing steps down to meet the residential neighborhood. The 2 wings converge along Huron Avenue, creating a wedge-shaped form. And it's further animated with community terraces and balconies. This space creates a dynamic corner that also creates a vibrant space and also creates a welcoming gateway along Washington Boulevard. Next slide, please. At the street level, we prioritize people over cars. And for that reason, each artist loft features its own alcove where it can showcase its work and also interact with the public. At the same time, each alcove is screened to ensure safety through landscaping, through gated access, as well as a stooped porch. The artist can choose how private or public they want this space to be. Next slide, please. The building comes together with a 1,800 square foot art center. The art center is defined with towering windows, a floating mezzanine space, and a grand stairs. This center is built with the community in mind and is going to be used for the community. Next slide, please. So I'm now going to discuss quickly the pro forma. Go ahead, please. So we try to minimize the city resources to just the land. And in doing so, we're able, because of the architect's ability to craft a 67-unit proposal, we're able to restrict 25% of the units to extremely low-income households without the need of having project-based vouchers or rental subsidies. In exchange for the land, we provide 3 sources of income back to the city. This includes a guaranteed residential ground lease payment, and then a pro rata share of the residential income, and then 100% distribution of the commercial income associated with the Arts Center. Thank you. Next slide, please. The project's financed primarily with 4% tax credits as well as MHP financing. However, the MHP financing was oversubscribed this year, and we anticipate that it might be in future years. So we have alternative sources readily available, including the cap and trade program. Next slide, please. Are we allowed to go over, or?
We can just take another like 2 minutes, and that'll.
Great, thank you. So the total cost per unit is $749,000, but we underwrote with a hard cost contingency of 10% and assumed traditional construction building methods. However, if we do go modular and build 62 units offsite, we believe we can save some of the hard costs. Next slide, please. Now I'm going to wrap up with our residential services. So once the building is in operations, we provide services free of cost to all of our residents. These opportunities provide new experiences and opportunities. One of these included a surfing program we had this summer. Many of our residents have never seen the ocean before. Seeing them stand on the ocean shore and catch a wave was nothing short of magical. But these aren't just joyful moments. These are opportunities that help build confidence, help them unlock curiosity, and then encourage them to explore new opportunities. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Do we have any questions from the commissioners, clarifying questions before we move on to the next presentation? Again, we will have time for more substantive questions at the end.
Thank you.
All right, seeing none, we'll take that's a Venice community.
Those folks were tall. Good evening. Such a pleasure to be with you today. My name is Allison Riley. I'm co-executive director of Venice Community Housing. I'm here today with my senior director of housing development, Vanessa Luna, and also our architecture team practice. And excited to present to you Culver Commons. We really, at Venice Community Housing, our commitment is to affordable housing and economic and social justice, which we know is wrapped up in housing justice. And through our work on the west side of Los Angeles, really committed to building relationships in community. To the extent we are working outside of our community, we're really working to build relationships with local organizations to be sure that our work is well received in the community. We're also a service provider and a property management organization, so that we're able to be sure that the way we operate our buildings is streamlined and everybody gets treated in the respectful way that we expect. And our partner at Practice has over 3,000 units of affordable housing experience, has been doing this work for a very long time, and is also quite skilled. What we present here with Culver Commons is 100% housing for seniors. We really want to encourage the strengthening of ties with the residents upstairs and the community spaces on the ground floor, which include community gallery and cultural spaces. So we anticipate kind of co-creating this space with the community through our community engagement activities. We also have set aside some space for commercial activation, which could also be informed through the community engagement process. We chose seniors because of the relatively small site and limited availability for parking, and also generally some challenges with availability of operating subsidies. And of course, we're making sure that these buildings are thoughtfully placed, sustainable, and really sit lightly on the earth to be sure that we are creating housing that is sustainable in the long run. As I mentioned, we're building 42 units, 41 for seniors at a mix of AMIs. We were proposing to the city to ground lease the property, right? We're in partnership with the city and want to make sure that you continue to own the land in perpetuity. We will offer a $1 million at construction closing capital lease payment, and then a pro rata share of residual receipts over the long term. Well, that's a lot of detail in our timeline, but I'll just say that we expect to be able to pull the financing together by 2027 and start construction, and expect about a 2-year timeline before we'd be able to come out of the ground and start leasing the units. And I think one of the things that really sets us apart is this commitment to community engagement at all stages of the development process. We have full-time staff at our organization to work with community in this way. We make sure we do upfront community engagement to talk about design, to talk about height, and talk about how we can make sure that the design really reflects and can be adjusted based on what the neighbors are interested in, and also make sure that that type of engagement and conversation is ongoing through the construction process and even after construction. We recently finished a development in Venice where we had several community engagement meetings in the early stages, and then at completion have started having biannual meetings with community, make sure that we are really being continually responsive with the community. So that's what's most important to us. So thank you very much. Any clarifying questions?
Any clarifying questions from commissioners? I just had one for seniors. What was the age? Is there an age limit on that?
We are right now proposing a 9% low-income housing tax credit, which would have a 62-year-old age limit, minimum age. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much. We will move on to Decro.
Good evening, Commissioners, and thank you for inviting us to present. My name is Armin Nishat, and I am Decro Corporation's Real Estate Development Director, and I am joined by Brian Adolph from LOHA. We're very pleased to present our vision for 1102 Washington Boulevard. So this is our team. We consist of Decro Corporation as a lead developer, LOHA as a lead architect, 360 is our planning and land use consultant, and Dreyfus Construction is our general contractor. We're a team that's heavily rooted in Culver City, and each member of our team is either headquartered within the city boundaries or immediately adjacent to it. We all have longtime roots within the city, which gives us a very unique understanding of the dynamics and the priorities of Culver City. At DCRO, much of our leadership are actually longtime Culver City residents, and our entire team is really excited at the opportunity to be able to create and be able to develop within our own community. So a bit about the qualifications at DCRO. We are a nonprofit development corporation headquartered in Culver City, and we have over 35 years of experience. We've completed over 1,600 units of both affordable and permanent supportive housing, and we've housed over 10,000 residents, which is largely based in Southern California. So we at DCRO are committed to meeting the affordable housing need, and our leadership also has key expertise needed to address this crisis. Our leadership includes longtime expertise both in the financial and lending industry, which allows us to leverage our relationships for private financing, as well as a strong legal background, as well as public sector background with local public sector and with Mayor Karen Bass, where our leadership was responsible for not only shepherding all 170 affordable housing projects throughout the city, but also helping lead and drive key financing programs. So in short, at DCRO, we not only are committed to addressing the housing shortage, but we also have the in-house expertise and leadership needed to deliver these solutions. With that, I'll turn it over to Brian.
Lorcan O'Hurley Architects is an award-winning design firm of about 20 architects in nearby West Adams. Locally, we're nearing completion on a mixed-use project here in Culver City, close to the train. And until recently, I personally haven't lived just a 3-minute walk from this site for over a decade. Next. LOHA is great familiar with housing and affordable housing in particular. There are a few of our finished projects in the area. Our Helms adjacent building is there up on the upper right. At the top center is our Eastla housing in South LA, which features roof decks and a winding stair from the street, very similar to our concept that we're proposing today. Just because a building is affordable housing doesn't mean it can't be great design. We also happen to be recognized for expertise for building award-winning projects on tight budgets. And I hand it back to Armin.
Thanks. So our vision for the Washington Boulevard project is to deliver much-needed affordable housing for Culver City. Our proposal has some of the deepest affordability levels, and it reserves all units for households making either extremely low or very low incomes. We propose a project with 37 units in total for senior households, which reflects our decision to prioritize both livability as well as quality of space for the residents. Our proposal embraces nearby amenities for seniors and creates a community where seniors can continue to live in their community through independent living at a level that they can afford. We also, in partnership with LOHA, wanted to make sure to create a community with dedicated community and commercial public spaces, as well as something that can really be an iconic asset for the community, as long as focusing on environmentally conscious building practices.
One of our priorities as architects is to provide much-needed housing while managing the height and density that it requires with sensitivity. We've also learned over years how to create massings that maintain the vision of a design as projects evolve and grapple with budgets. Here, we've purposely brought the height down at both ends to keep the density towards the middle and towards Washington and away from the neighborhood. We also place a priority on community benefits. So we propose that the step roof along the street become a public vertical park. The idea came to us as another public stair for Culver City after the Culver Stairs on Baldwin Hill. This green space is meant to complement Tellefson Park with a garden and a view terrace at the top. And we do have experience providing public spaces and public parks in our projects, in particular our Formosa building in West Hollywood. We've attempted to create a striking and functional form that considers its neighbors. We purposefully decided not to maximize the density, but to make something that was an appropriate scale for the neighborhood and something iconic for the community. If you know about building housing, and we have a lot of experience, this is actually a simple series of stacked units with budget materials. The one extra are the roof decks, which are often required, and exterior stairs similar to what you saw in our Eastla project. Here's the ground floor plan, which shows how the building was articulated to work with this triangular site. The priority here was ground floor activation along Washington with a space specifically dedicated for the community, an office intended for a local nonprofit, and a lobby for the senior housing, all of which line the street. And I'll pass it back to Armin.
So we also wanted to highlight the financial benefits that our proposal generates for the city. So we've proposed a long-term ground lease that allows the city to continue ownership of the land, and we've estimated that it would generate a total of $22.7 million in direct value to the city over the lifetime of the ground lease. The total project construction cost is $29 million, which is in line with similarly scoped projects, and we were able to create this really iconic building with $0 of city funding while still creating deep affordability for residents. We're able to do this by leveraging leveraging both public and private funds, which is enabled by DCRO's vast leadership and expertise in local funding programs as well as lending. And so with that, we want to thank you for the opportunity to submit our vision for Washington Boulevard. We're very excited at the opportunity to give back and utilize our combined expertise for this community that we call home, and we're prepared to answer any questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do we have any questions for commissioners clarifying at this point? All right, thank you very much. And next we'll have a design with skill. Is that the name? Or develop with skill? Or is it both? Develop with skill. Design with, thank you.
Hello. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Samantha Hill, founder of Develop with Skill and Design with Skill. I'm joined tonight by my partners from Model Z and Better Angels, and together we're presenting our proposal for 1129 Washington Boulevard. We're proposing an affordable housing community that responds directly to Culver City's housing goals while strengthening the Washington corridor. Our proposal delivers 83 units of 100% affordable housing. The building is student-focused given its proximity to West LA College, but it also welcomes other community-serving residents, teachers, nurses, firefighters, and construction trade workers who are equally impacted by Culver City's housing shortage. Some key program features is ground floor neighborhood-serving retail, a second-level community space open to residents and local partners, and a 27-space public parking garage generating reliable revenue for the city. At Design with Skill and Develop with Skill, we integrate both architecture and development, specializing in affordable multifamily and mixed-use projects throughout Los Angeles. We've partnered successfully with cities like West Hollywood, Long Beach, and Pasadena on their affordable housing programs. I will now hand it over to Ekta to introduce Model Z.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ekta Naik, and I'm representing Solar and Model Z modular manufacturer. At Solar Impact and Model Z, I lead the adoption of high-quality, innovative modular technology. Using Model Z standardized factory-built steel units, we compress schedules, cut costs, and deliver high-quality, affordable workforce and student housing. Model Z is a leading modular manufacturer located only 8 miles away from the site. I welcome you all to tour our manufacturing factory. We have a strong track record, and we have worked on 39 projects, totaling 3,084 units. We have delivered 22 projects of these with 1,096 units, and are currently working on 17 projects ranging all the way from projects that are about to receive our TCO, fingers crossed, and some about to pull up permits, and some in early plan development stages. In the next 24 months, we will deliver 17 projects with a total of 2,000 units. Most importantly, we have consistently delivered these units at an average cost of $285,000 per unit, all in. It includes land, soft, hard costs, and financing cost, all in. With that, let me hand it over to Andre.
Good evening. My name is Andre Bueno. I'm the Chief Investment Officer for Better Angels. We're a mission-driven investment firm that is focused on accelerating the production of affordable and workforce housing in Los Angeles County. We pair capital with operational expertise, and by partnering with Model Z, we're able to deliver housing faster and at a lower cost. We're currently working on a similar-sized project in Westchester. Model Z recently completed a similar-sized project on 6200 South Broadway. And our proposal really aims to replicate a model for sustainable, community-rooted housing, and this is precisely what's needed in Culver City for the kids, for our students, and small families. I'll pass this off to Jason.
Thank you. Very much appreciate you all having me here. I'm going to speak a little bit about the market in Culver City. As we know, Culver City is a great place to live. It's also a victim of its own success. It's very expensive to live here. Across the street, houses start in the $2 million. In the same neighborhood where the property is, behind this property, it's in the $1.5 million range. And to rent in the area, in the Class A multifamily building, it's now $3,500 for a starting price on a one-bedroom. It's exceedingly expensive. We're going to be building this building for 80% AMI tenants, which means the students studying at West LA College, the teachers, the firefighters, the support staff working in the hospitals, the people that have not been able to benefit from Culver City's success, right? And so this is, when you look at Culver City's employment, 2/3 of the employment base is people that are not employed in the high-paying technology and media industries, and that's the audience that we're looking to serve. Looking at the West LA Community College, one of the things that struck me was that there's 12,000 students there. 80% of them are part-time, which means they're all really working by day, working by day and going to school at night, and they're unable to afford a place to live here. I'm going to speak a little bit about a personal story. My wife is one of those people. She was a working mother, a single mother, and I married her a couple of years ago, but I was incredibly struck by her hard work ethic and ability to provide for her child and afford a place to live. And that's why we're building for this type of audience. Very much appreciate your time. Thank you. On to Hector.
All right, we are almost out of time.
Yeah.
We are.
I'll make sure that I go quickly through the design component over here. So the design activates the ground floor with neighborhood serving retail, such as a small market and a cafe, alongside a 27-space public garage, which will be income generating for the city. Together, these create a lively and a pedestrian-friendly frontage along Washington Boulevard. The second level, thank you, provides dedicated community support space for students and activities such as technology, arts, and science workshop. This space will serve both college and high school students. We will also partner with nonprofits like SOLA's Foundation to provide technology and entrepreneurship training for community members, and Model Z's workforce training to provide workforce training for ELI and VLI-focused households in the community. Our innovative modular technology enables us to deliver high-quality 83 units on an expedited timeline. We're looking at 9 to 12 months to get permits and another 9 months to complete the construction. So in a short time frame of 18 months, this property will be income generating. Modular allows us to parallel track the approvals, site work, and modular manufacturing, accelerating the cash flows, decreasing the financing costs, and reducing construction timelines by 35%. Our steel modules are low embodied carbon, operationally efficient, and built to last. Finally, this model that combines modular innovation with in-house architecture development, construction management, manufacturing, and innovative financing platform allows us to streamline, standardize, and reduce costs. For this 83-unit mixed-use project, our all-in cost per door are $299,000. And with that, you want to finish it off real quick?
I'll give you about 30 seconds. I apologize.
Okay, great, thank you. So in closing, this project really represents a direct partnership opportunity with Culver City and LACCD through Measure LA. And this is in a prime corridor location. We've begun outreach with student groups, educators, and small businesses to ensure that this project reflects real community needs. This proposal checks every box: design excellence, long-term affordability, a truly affordable project delivery cost under $300,000 per unit, reliable revenue generation for the city, community benefits, and fast delivery. We respectfully ask for your support to move this forward to invest in Culver City's future residents, students, teachers, nurses, and first responders alike. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any clarifying questions from commissioners? Okay, thank you very much. And our last presenter will be from, I believe it's pronounced Ilios.
I'm a little shorter. All right, good evening, commissioners. We're really glad to be here. My name is Jenna Hornstock. I'm here representing Ilios as the Vice President of Strategy and External Affairs. We've got our co-founders, our Director of Development, and our architect here in case there are questions. First, I have to start by saying I grew up in Terre Hill. I am so proud that I was an early adopter. My parents were of our amazing Spanish immersion program here in Culver City. I am grateful every day that I speak Spanish, and I was 1991 senior class president at Culver City High School, so I feel like a little kid. Sorry, it feels like some weird coming home. Sorry, I had to nerd out for you. Now I'm going to get into the presentation. So who is Elio? So we go next slide. There we are. We're a for-profit developer formed in 2019. We focus on privately financed, 100% affordable projects. Really what makes us unique is our in-house capacity to deliver. We bring all levels of expertise to be nimble, from acquisition to design, financing, construction, and construction management. We have 1,300 units in our pipeline at every stage of development, from pre-development to in construction to recently completed. Next slide. Kevin Tsai is here. He's been brought on to do architecture for this proposal. He delivers, his team delivers high-quality, elegant, and original multifamily products around LA County, and most recently just completed a project, the Sony Apartments, which is in Culver City and currently leasing up. Next slide. So our project proposal, this is a rendering of the exterior facing Washington Boulevard. We're proposing 68 units in 5 stories, consisting of 55 one-bedroom and 13 two-bedroom units, relying on state density bonus and likely your Adobe initiative incentive program. Next slide. So for our ground floor, we really tried to have thoughtful design, or Kevin's team put forward a thoughtful design with a street facade that engages and continues the energy of Washington Boulevard. We've got set aside 1,300 square feet for commercial, about 1,000 square foot courtyard in the center, space for residential amenities, and about 900 square feet for a community room, but we do envision that these spaces can be flexible to respond to community feedback and desires for that ground floor space. Next slide. Just to give an example of the floor plans for the 2nd through 4th floors and then the 5th, we want to note that the 5th floor, if you see that white bar, it's stepped back, trying to create a little transition to the north side residential, and that would be a rooftop deck that would be landscaped. You can also see in these floor plans the interior courtyard that connects to the street and also creates opportunities for better ventilation and cooling. Next slide. We are proposing a 100% affordable project, and we sought to exceed the requirements of the state density bonus and take advantage also of your new density bonus incentive program. We suggest 29% of the units at 50% AMI. The balance are at 80% AMI, and we target 2 different rent schedules, and that gets complicated, but it's based on the density bonus laws. But I think it's important to note that these lower and very low-income units help Culver City meet its RHNA goals, and they can be tough to reach those different income levels while at the same time providing that important housing to missing middle households. Next slide. So for the project financing, you can see here our sources and uses. What we do with Elios, and we do this really intentionally, is try to keep it really simple so that when we stand before you and say we can deliver this project and start construction in about a year, it's because we can line up the financing. So we do propose the equity is a land contribution from the city. We would privately finance about $15.3 million, and we were looking for a residual receipts loan from the city for this project. On the costs, we do assume prevailing wages for construction, and our estimates for the costs are all based on 4 projects that we currently have in construction and actually 4 projects that we're currently bidding out. So we feel pretty confident in our construction cost estimates. Our soft cost fees are based on the schedule from your own housing element. So that's what came to this project financing plan at just over $28 million. Next slide. Our proposed terms for the deal would be to acquire the property for $1. In exchange, we would provide affordability in perpetuity. 99 years in the real estate world is pretty much forever affordability. We are asking for that residual receipts loan. Our proposal follows the terms we've seen in other deals that the city has done at 3% and 30-year amortization. But what I would say, and I didn't mention earlier, I spent 23 years in the public sector doing affordable housing and public land development. I would say most deals do not repay residual receipts. We would indeed repay that loan, and we can show that in our pro forma. And then to ensure this even further, what we offered in our proposal, with privately financed deals, we tend to refinance every 5 to 10 years. Our perm debt expires at that time. So we propose that after year 10, when we refinance, we would provide 25% of that refinance back to the city to repay the loan after we repay and then deal with any maintenance needs. I think this is almost our last slide. In terms of community engagement, again, I mentioned 23 years in the public sector doing a lot of affordable housing. We are ready for community engagement following the guidelines of the city. We can elaborate more if you have questions. And then final slide, our timeline. I think the key thing to note is if we started in January, which was suggested by the city, and can do our entitlements within a year, because of the really simple approach to financing, we could get started at the end of 2026. We estimate about 18 months for construction with the C of O by June of 28. Thank you.
Thank you. Any clarifying questions from commissioners? Okay. Thank you. Let's see, do we have any members of the public? Any public comment?
We do, we have one.
We have one. Okay, well, give them 3 minutes, please.
Do we need to open the public?
Oh, well, we might want to do that. Too. No, it's not a public hearing.
Actually, okay. All right. Our speaker is Benjamin Seligman.
Thank you for having me speak. I'm Ben Seligman. I'm a homeowner in Culver City. I live on Huron Avenue, just a couple of blocks from 1129. I walk by it almost every day, and I'm looking forward to the new neighbors. I'm really glad that the commission has made affordable housing a priority in the RFP, and I'm really pleased to see what a priority it's made in all of the proposals that we just saw, and as I was reading them earlier. I do want to say where I see differences in the proposals, and I hope the commission will consider this in the context of the rubric that's already been put out, is the extent to which they engage the community and provide community space. And I do want to draw the commission's attention in particular to the proposals from the West Hollywood Community Housing Corporation to DECRO and to Ilios, all of which seem to offer a lot to the residents in the area. That said, I realize that housing is an important priority. There's an established rubric that needs to be followed, but I hope that the differences in community engagement are also considered in line with all of that. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. That's our final public comment on.
Yes.
That is amazing. Okay. So what we'll do now is we're going to ask commissioners to make comments and ask questions in order, and I believe we start with our newest commissioner, Commissioner Black. So feel free to make such comments as you like and to ask questions of any of the presenters or just call them up if you need more.
Well, I found it very interesting that all of the proposals, oh, this isn't on, is it? Or is it? The newest commissioner, that all of the proposers are for 100% affordable housing, which is very welcome. And there's something to love, I think, in every one of these proposals. The focus on the arts in the West Hollywood proposal is something that I think is of a lot of interest to a number of people in Culver City, and the live-work spaces and activating Washington Boulevard that way is especially appealing. What I really appreciated about the Venice community housing proposal is how very tailored it is to aging, from the materials, the banisters, everything about that proposal clearly keeps in mind the needs of the seniors that are proposed to be the residents of that community. For DECRO, I absolutely loved the architectural design. It is, as they said, iconic. But I was a little bit confused about the vertical park at the same time as focusing on the lowest income seniors. It seems like that would be a very different population living in the facility from those who would be using all of those stairs to appreciate the park. And also, West Hollywood and Venice both provide services without supplemental funding. But in Decro's proposal, I think there was a statement that no services were needed. I think that may have been because this isn't technically, permanent supportive housing, but surely a facility for seniors definitely needs ongoing services and programs for that population. Obviously, the cost per unit in the Develop with Skill proposal and the Elias proposal, both of those lower cost per unit are very appealing. With Elios, obviously, looking for a residual receipts loan in light of the city's current financial situation, that is not as advantageous a proposal. And I could go on, but I'm sure that everybody else has comments as well.
Do you have any preference you want to express at this point?
I would say that both the West Hollywood and the Venice proposals would be very competitive. I sort of questioned why the staff had rated the Venice proposal lower for their affordable, for the affordable housing component. And also, on the West Hollywood, I understand that the 8th story is set back, but 8 stories, I just wonder how that would be received by the community. So, as I said, there's things between those two proposals that, kind of offset each other. Although our public speaker mentioned the amount of community available space, it looks like the Venice proposal actually has more. They had retail space of 1,100 square feet and multipurpose space of 1,700, if I'm not mistaken, compared to 1,800 in the West Hollywood proposal. So, I like those two proposals.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Van Galen.
Thank you, Chair. I have a question for the WeHo group, actually. I understand that the DWS proposes modular construction, and I think your group does as well, WeHo, is that correct? Can I ask who the provider is?
It would be helpful if we came up to the podium so that it can be seen online, please. Thank you for doing this.
So since it's early in construction, we like to have a pool of modular providers. It makes it more competitive, and we're able to refine the design. And so we don't have anyone identified currently, but there's a number of modular firms that we've worked with or consulted with in the past that would be viable candidates for this. One, do you have the names? Plant Prefab would be one that's located in Inland Empire. And then there's modular construction that has a factory in Tijuana that's available. And there's the steel factory in the North Bay. Do you remember their name?
Yeah, Factory OS.
Factory OS is their name. So we have 3 possibilities. We want to first refine the drawings and then get it to a point where we can have each of the modular factories bid a competing proposal to ensure we have the best price.
Can I ask, have you done a project with prefabricated components prior?
We have done components, but not a fully modular building.
Okay, thank you.
But we would work with consultants to ensure that, everything is coordinated from design development.
That the architecture team has.
And the architect, you can
Yeah, so I've done quite a few modular projects, about 120 units worth.
And how tall
Full
was that?
modular. What?
How tall?
That was a mixture of, that was more lower scale stuff, but using a couple different factories.
How many stories?
2 maximum. It was smaller scale, like infill, just small infill projects.
All right, thank you. That's all the questions I have. And unless I'm mistaken, I believe those were the only two projects that discussed prefabricated units or components. I bring it up, I deal with prefabricated units and components in my private practice, and I'm all for it, the technology, but I'm worried that it may not be proven for a tall structure yet. And I'm not sure that using them for this project may not be the best option, may not be the best guinea pig, let's say, for a prefabricated building. I'm happy if there's other cited examples of tall units that are prefabricated, but I don't know of any. I'm sure they're there, I'm just not familiar. That's my spiel on modular. In terms of comparing the 5 designs, I notice none have parking, except for one, the DWS, and that parking is not for the residents, I believe. It's public parking for profit, and it takes up most of the first floor, and I don't think that's the correct approach. I like the idea that there's no parking here. I would choose that myself if that were an option. My only concern is that there isn't a grocery store for quite a ways of a walk, at least a half a mile. And you're going to have to go to the wrong side of Venice, meaning the opposite side of Venice Boulevard to get to the closest one. This site is probably too small for a grocery store, but I believe we need to consider the local amenities for these residents, and something I think should be provided. If not on this project, close to this project somehow. Overall, my selection, my pick would be the WeHo project. Despite being indeterminately modular, I prefer that it has 67 units. It's not as few as 41 or 37, and I think that's the best use of this opportunity. I am concerned about the artist lofts. I don't think that's the best way to activate the streets. I'm all for live-work spaces, but they tend to be pretty dry from the streetscape. If that were turned into something more public-facing and of public utility, I think that would be a better bet. Thank you.
Commissioner Jones.
Thanks. I have some questions for staff about some of the rating or the scores, to the extent you have some details. I was interested in the different financial feasibility and capacity numbers. I think some of them make sense, but it would be helpful to hear a little bit about the process there, just given that that's one of the categories that had a real wide spread.
So for financial feasibility and capacity, we partnered with KMA, who does real estate analysis for us. They did it on Jubilo. They've done it on a bunch of different projects, and they have expertise in looking at pro formas and determining feasibility. And so if you have specific questions about the scores of different ones, I can go into them. I think that they gave higher scores to, a lot of the sources of funding here are competitive, the state money in particular, and they gave higher scores to folks who have a track record of winning those grants, with the idea that they would win them in the future for us. And then I think lower scores were given to financial feasibility plans that were less realistic or less detailed, and more high risk.
So, like, for example, the fact that the West Hollywood one has, I forget what the percentage, has 17 extremely low-income units. None of the other ones have extremely low. That maybe raises the chances of them getting those grants. Is that an example of what might have gone into that?
Well, the affordability levels were rated as a separate category. So they were given their own score.
Okay.
And then the financial feasibility was rated separately. So I don't think that the 30 to 80%, that had much to do with the financial feasibility score.
The reason I mentioned that one, because I was trying to figure out exactly why that West Hollywood had the best one. And in,
For
in-
an affordable or for financial feasibility?
For financial feasibility. And in their proposal, they made the claim that having the extremely low made them more competitive for some of the funding.
I think their high score, which was 8 out of 10 for financial feasibility, had to do with the funding sources, the 4% tax credits, MHP and IIG funding. MHP and IIG are competitive, and they just have such a good track record of receiving those funds that I think we felt that they were likelier to receive those funds. Venice also received a fairly high score. 6 out of 10. They were slightly lower because of their cash flow analysis. It trends lower later because of their cash flow. It has a similar project funding sources as WeHo. But I guess one of the things that was identified is starting year 15, no cash flow available for residual seats distributions.
I see.
So we were concerned about that in terms of repaying this residual receipt loan to the city.
I know that Elios had the residual receipts loan, but was that repaying loan to other sources? I don't know if that one had a loan from the city.
Venice.
Yeah. Actually, that would be helpful.
I think
to just
the city
clarify
the city got a portion of residual receipts payments for the ground lease payments.
I see.
For that Venice.
It wasn't
for
to
Venice.
repay a loan, but that we would get.
Sorry, it was for the ground
revenue.
lease.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. That's helpful. Thank you. And then I don't know if you have this, and if we don't, that's okay. But some of the projects mentioned timeline when they thought they could start construction, when they could open. Do you have? Is there a rundown of like the different projects and that sort of thing?
All of them were pretty much around 2030, breaking ground 2028, ending construction around 2030. I don't remember major distinctions except for the Elios which had more private financing, and that does make sense that if they didn't have to compete for these, state grants, that they would be able to get started with construction faster.
Okay.
But I do think, we thought the timelines for the other ones were realistic in terms of needing, 2 years to compete for these grants and get them, and hopefully get them, and then be able to close and start on construction.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. As far as my comments on the different projects, first of all, I think that the fact that we had 5 developers trying to build affordable housing here, I think is amazing, and that Culver City needs this. It's very exciting. I agree with Commissioner Black that I think the need for money, $6 million from the city, is probably a non-starter for the Elios one, which is a shame because I thought that was a really cool project. Decro, I think, is probably the most interesting, best-looking project I've seen since I've been on the Planning Commission. I really would love to, I'm in this area all the time, and I would love to have that project there. I think the green space is amazing too. For me, I think that having, that I want more units than that. And I love the design. I want that building in my neighborhood, but I think that the other projects that offer more units are more interesting because of that. I think I am leaning strongly towards the West Hollywood one for having the extremely low units. I think that's really important. the fact that you're able to do that with a strong pro forma that got the thumbs up from the consultant, I think is really exciting. I like that it has 67 units overall. The artist units, I'm also maybe not sure about, but I know that people in Culver City are excited about having that kind of thing. I'll be interested to see. I like the idea of seeing the artist's art out there and having an interaction. It's interesting, on Washington Boulevard, a block west, there's another artist space in like a former service station right next to a current gas station. And it's interesting, and there's a cool like sign on top of it, and sometimes I see into the artist's space, and actually I see them at the local coffee shop too. But there's never been an interaction or interplay, and I wonder what design of the space could do to encourage that and to make it happen. So I'm on board with it, but I'm curious to see how it plays out. And the inclusion of services, I think, is huge, especially, I think necessary to serve an extremely low-income population in some cases. But just overall, I was impressed with that presentation. I am interested in, I think it's less important. I do want to say that I think that cost per unit is important, and I think that it would be great if we can, bring that down. I love that there were really competitive cost per unit numbers from some of the proposals. But for me, that's not going to win the day here. Where like we have an opportunity to get affordable housing on city land. We should get as much as we can, in my view. The only other thing I want to add, which is some feedback to the West Hollywood Community Housing Corporation, is that I'm not crazy about the name Washington Palms. I don't know if that's going to stick. I feel like, people maybe in West Hollywood, Culver City and Palms are kind of the same place. I feel like I thought that too at one point, but people here have like a strong civic pride. Culver City is Culver City. And I know you're not intending to associate it with the neighborhood Palms, but the name kind of does that. And so I would suggest revisiting it. In addition to my other piece of feedback, which is I'm not crazy about palm trees themselves. People up here know this about me. We have an urban forest master plan that has some suggestions that if you want to consider other street trees, I would support that too. But I'll interested to hear what others say, and we can make our recommendation. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Vice Chair Carter.
All these projects are so interesting, and they're all exciting, so thank you. Decro is gorgeous and very exciting, but it's hard to lose that. It's not enough housing. It's hard to lose that extra housing, and I think the activating at the street level is going to be very important. I think the artist studios could work, but you made a really good point about would it need some kind of commercial element there. So I'm also leaning towards WeHo. But there are different elements that I'm impressed in all the presentations, so thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Carter. I do have a number of questions. First one is actually for Decro. I was wondering if you could come back up. As part of the presentation, there was a mention of some $22 million that might ultimately come to the city. And unfortunately, in our packet, the financial part was sort of spread over 2 pages and it was really hard to, if you could walk us through that, I would really appreciate that.
Sure. So similar to the other proposals, we have a ground lease that we're anticipating repaying through a residual receipts loan. And it's through a 99-year ground lease and 99-year affordability. So that's the cumulative estimated amount that would be repaid to the city over the life of the ground lease would be about $22.7 million.
And the residual receipts loan was how much?
I think we anticipated it being 2.5% of effective gross income per year.
Okay, but I mean, there's an upfront payment associated with that or no?
So we put in our proposal that we didn't initially anticipate capitalizing it, but we are open to the possibility of capitalizing portion of it. It's
All
just
right,
that
understood.
that would require us to kind of tweak our pro forma and some of our financial applications.
Okay, and yours it's a 5 stories, right?
Correct.
All right. And I suppose the public park doesn't work when you get up to 8 stories, does it?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't just say no to that. You know, we have dealt with a lot of challenges over the years, and there might be a way of doing it. It might be different, for sure, but it's something we can investigate.
All right. All right, thank you. Those are my, I appreciate you coming back up for that. And I did want to, let's see, to ask about design with skill. You talked a little bit about the Model Z. I just wanted to hear from you how many of those have been produced to date? If someone could come up and do that, I'd appreciate that.
So to date, the Model Z factory has produced 453 units. In fact, 453 units just went out of the doors today. We have 5 projects in the pipeline. One that Andre mentioned just finished going up. We built 70 units erected 70 units within 10 days. There's a second project that's going under construction next month for 188 units. These are all 5-story buildings in city of Los Angeles.
Right, and that was my second question for you. Commissioner Van Galen had raised a question about the height of the building.
Oh, how tall is it?
Well, whether or not the modular units can be stacked that tall.
Yes, they're steel building and they're designed to go 5-story tall on top of a podium, which is what we're showing right now.
Can I ask, how tall have you stacked them to date in an existing structure?
5 stories tall.
Can I ask what the address is of that site?
Yeah, 6200 Broadway, Los Angeles.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right, thank you. Those are my additional questions. I appreciate that very much. And I had one other question, which was for Elios, and that question was simply to understand why your per unit cost is significantly lower than others here, and what your thoughts are on that. I understand the modular unit, but not quite why that's true for your units.
Hi again. If I could add to my geeking out, my mother, who's a resident, has joined us tonight. So, sorry, I have to go there. I didn't study the other proposals. I did have a look at them. So a little this would be speculation, but I do think one thing I would say when projects are going after tax credits, they need to show more cost to generate tax credit basis. So I did notice some of them had, say, an acquisition price. But that gets donated back to the project, so it generates a higher per unit cost, but actually it's like a paper cost. I'm guessing that's part of it. I couldn't go through line by line. I do think that's probably some of it. I'm going to let David, who's our co-founder, talk about the rest, but I do think sometimes some of the costs might be related to how you need to structure deals to get the funding. That's a guess.
If you could just talk about why your own costs are low, that would probably be most helpful.
Sorry about that. So one other thing I was going to say, though, about the team is that we do a lot in-house in terms of entitlement, and so we reduce the cost on some of the consultants.
So speaking to why, our cost structure is significantly lower, a lot of it has to do with our financing structure, as Jenna just mentioned right now. And we do a lot of our cost estimation in-house, successfully so. As she mentioned, we have 4 projects under construction. Sorry, 4 projects completed. 4 projects completed, 4 going into construction. It's just the nature of the financing. When you work privately, There are less cooks in the kitchen, so we have a pretty good handle on our costs. This is a prevailing wage project. When our projects are not prevailing wage, we've built as low as 160 to 170,000 a door hard cost, and then factor in land. So we're very confident in our costs.
All right, thank you very much.
Of course.
I really appreciate that. That helps me. So I had just a number of comments about this. Just wanted to take a step back. When the former Reading gun store property was purchased, there were a number of community meetings that were held. And the public was asked what it might want to do with the property. And I have a list here of dozens and dozens of things the public thought it might want, such as a garden, an art studio, food and music hall, children's museum, homeless shelter, teen shelter center, a dance theater space, thrift store, brewery, rock climbing center, indoor and outdoor pool, skating rink, pickleball courts, intercultural center, and dozens more. When the RFP went out, of course, the RFP said there was a preference for housing. So what we have are all housing. There are no other kinds of proposals that are here. And I just want to point that out, that I'm not sure that the community expected that. Just sort of a caution to our council that sits here on Mondays, that when you say I have a preference for something, that's all you're going to get. And maybe that's what they wanted. But if we wanted other proposals, that was not the way to go about getting them. Because what we have tonight are 5 affordable housing. And I understand my fellow commissioners are all very much in favor of affordable housing, as am I, so there are plenty of reasons why that is good in and of itself. But if someone wants to know why we are not going to have an aquatic center there, that's one of the reasons I say that, because that there's a financial issue here, right? And there's sort of a dismal quality to these financials that's important to understand. The city paid $6.5 million for this store, and it wasn't a property the city wanted. Nobody said we want this property. Nobody said we feel like developing this property. It was purchased essentially to extinguish the non-conforming use of a gun store. So then the question is what to do with it. Is there anything that could be done that might, for example, make money out of it? And the bottom line is essentially no. Affordable housing in concept generally doesn't make money. That's not what affordable housing is designed to do. It is subsidized, and subsidized housing may make more than zero over the long term, but it is not a way to generate income. That being said, if we wanted to not generate income, we could have had an aquatic center. There were discussions about that. I appreciate that there are some residual receipt payments that might come. That Venice, I believe, is going to have $1 million capitalized land rent payment up front. But for the most part, it is the city's $6.5 million is being, at the very least, exchanged for whatever we are getting here. And the money will not come back to the city for this expenditure for a piece of property that, as I say, initially nobody wanted. Each of these proposals has its pluses and its minuses. I will say I take issue with some of the way the scoring worked out. I feel like it's not surprising that the most expensive project ended up getting the highest score, which is kind of what happened. There's probably a lot of reasons for that. But it was the $50 million is the highest single price tag for the West Hollywood project. Also, I think that that's important because the more expensive a project is, the larger the financial risks actually are. Because if a project is 10% short and it's a $30 million project, that's a $3 million problem. If it's a $50 million project, that's a $5 million problem. And when one of these projects is short, as happens with the publicly financed projects, they're likely to come to the city and ask for more money, and the city may well give it to them. So the city has to understand there's a potential future cost, and given everything from tariffs to inflation to increases in prevailing wages, all of these performances are based on some fairly rosy assumptions, and I think we all need to be aware of that going in. It's one of the reasons why I take a look at the per unit cost to build. That I think matters significantly because at the end of the day, when units are costing $750,000 or $800,000 each, they are in some sense simply not affordable. They are heavily subsidized, but to make money, any money out of out of a low rent on a very high initial cost is always going to be a challenge. Those projects are always hard to deliver. Whereas when we have a project that's, in the 300 to 400 range, it's actually possible over 15, 20 years to start making some money back on that project. That is just sort of an overall view as to how one takes a look at affordable housing. So I honestly thought that the develop with skill, design with skill proposal was by far the best proposal that was here. The vision for modular units is really fascinating, and it's something that I think the city should be willing to take a look at and get behind. Modular units are clearly much more cost effective, and having modular units is a way to really make affordable housing work better in the long term. That also has the highest number of units, to the extent that that is important. That's 83 units as opposed to 67, 68, 42, and 37. That project also has a little bit of parking. I say just a little bit. It's 26 units, 26 spaces of parking. But, when I look at the projects that are primarily about seniors and have no parking, I really wonder how that's going to function. It's one thing to have very little parking, but to have absolutely zero is, well, let's just say that the parking lot of the 7-Eleven nearby is not that big. And everybody can't park there. That means you're going to have parking intrusion in the neighborhoods. And having even a little bit of parking makes it possible to have everything from deliveries to the occasional disabled person who needs to be there and so forth. So I think that having a little bit of parking, 26 spaces for 83 units, especially as that is, as Commissioner Van Gogh pointed out, is meant to be public parking. So anybody can use that. I think it's actually a significant amenity, even though I know there are those who don't want any parking in these buildings. I also thought that the deferred developer fee, which was discussed here, is a interesting expression of confidence in the project that I like to see. That would be my preference. It is, of course, 7 stories, but 7 stories I think is actually better than 8 for this area. Remember, we're trying not to sort of overshadow the mosque. This is a neighborhood that I think nothing's more than 4 stories around here, and I think probably 3 at this point. I agree that the Decro project, which has the fewer units, also has an amazing design. I'm concerned by the high cost per unit. I am, of course, when we put out the RFP, one of the things that was in there was a sort of almost a throwaway line that said, the city and the commission would be willing to waive or modify zoning regulations as needed. I don't think any of these projects actually took advantage of that. But it would have been interesting to see what you might have done if you took away some of those restrictions and said, okay, leaving aside the state density bonuses, what would I build here? Are you simply going to keep going up? Is that what one does? Or is there actually something here that would make more sense, get a few more units and so forth? And I wish we'd had that opportunity. I'm also a little concerned of the conversation we just had about West Hollywood, that they have not identified yet who would be building their modular housing, which means I'm weighing on the one hand modular units that I don't even know what they are yet versus these Model Z units for design with skill that they've been pioneering and apparently producing hundreds of successfully. So I think that's a strong vote in favor of that. That being said, are there any other additional comments from, now that we've all spoken? Commissioner Black. We'll go back around again.
I do have a question about financial risk. Culver City doesn't have a lot of experience with affordable housing. The last time we built any, the project opened in 2013. The mix of units for the West Hollywood project goes up to 80% AMI. For the Venice project, it goes up to 60%. Is there greater financial risk associated with the mix of units being predominantly at the very low end?
Is that a question to staff, or is that just a question for us as commissioners to discuss?
Well, I guess it's a question for those who have more experience in financing and managing affordable housing projects.
Is there somebody you'd like to ask that question to, Commissioner Black? Or is Commissioner Van Galen going to speak to that? You might be able to.
I think we have the executive director of the West Hollywood. Well, all of this subsidized housing is dependent on people with very to rather low incomes actually being able to pay their rent. And so my question is there greater risk in collecting rent when the units are predominantly at the very lowest end of the scale? Your project has some that are very low, but also goes up to 80%. Does the mix of units in terms of income levels affect the risk when it comes to actually collecting the rents?
There are several interrelated factors. So one of our goals as a company is to try to structure a project that is as close to break even as possible, because we're driven by our mission and we want to target deep affordability. That being said, as you said, it costs money to operate a building, and so by having the mix of incomes, the higher income, low income residents, such as the 80% AMI units, can cross-subsidize some of our lower income, extremely low income residents at 30% AMI. I would say in terms of the risk profile, I think it's fairly standard across the board. We have very rigorous tenant selection criteria and screening processes where we make sure that people both meet the income guidelines, they are under whatever the threshold is for that income level, but also have sufficient income to pay the rent. There are credit screenings and earnings ratios to the rent. So I don't think it is necessarily more risky. I think that the difference is in terms of the demand. There is far greater demand for the extremely low income units than there is sometimes for the higher income, low income units. The problem at the extremely low income level, a lot of times there are people who don't make enough to pay the rent. So it really comes down to the screening. Like a lot of the extremely low income units generally come with a rental subsidy, which we are not modeling here. Did that answer your question? Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. And I just want to say to Commissioner Jones, the name is totally up for grabs. It was really just there was an actual tree called the Washington palm, and that was the thought process. But we're totally open.
That's terrible.
Any additional questions or comments?
Well, I guess I did. I'm very excited to see the affordable housing proposals, but like you, I do remember the discussion sort of being the highest and best use, and how can we do both housing and recover at least some of the purchase price of this property. So Yeah, with the exception of capitalizing the lease in the Venice project, we're really not doing that. But this was really the way the RFP read, so we shouldn't be surprised.
Actually, just a response to your comment regarding the modular housing. I actually think it's better that WeHo hasn't settled on a provider yet or a partner to work with. Personally, I'm not sold on the technology entirely. I'm not sure it's ready yet for a building of such height. I mean, yes, technically it is, but in terms of a feasibility and an experience perspective, I'm not sure that the technology is necessarily ready. And it may be the case that it might be best not to do it with modular construction. And I'm not sure that we are binding anybody to using that technology based on this approval. But I think it's to their advantage that they're not, that WeHo is not committed necessarily to a provider.
Well, I just want to respond to this. I just want to make sure I understand. I believe we saw that WeHo is committed to choosing a modular housing concept. Is that?
That's correct. That's my understanding as well, but a lot can happen between now and then.
Is that correct? Again, thank you for making the trek down to the podium. I appreciate it.
That's our current proposal. Our current concept is contemplating modular, but it will be competitively bid. So if there's a modular provider or a conventional construction, a GC who proposes to build the design using conventional construction methods that is actually cheaper than modular, we'll consider it. We want to do this at the lowest possible cost. I mean, there's no, with all due respect to Jenna, there is no cost inflation for any reason. We just have a lot of experience doing this. It's very expensive to build affordable housing when you are building something that's prevailing wage, LEED Gold, universal design, all of the wonderful features that everyone wants in new construction. It costs a lot of money, but we have no incentive to inflate the costs, and we want to build it as low as possible. And I do have in my notes to talk to both of our competitors, Model Z and Ilios, because we're going to be competitively bidding this, and I don't know how they could possibly do it for as cheap as they're doing it, and I'm going to talk to them after this.
I do want to ask you, but I presume the reason modular design was chosen in the first place was cost. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. Commissioner Van Galen.
No further questions.
Commissioner Jones.
Nothing further.
One question. Ilios is the only one that has community space in the project? Did I read that right? No? Others do too?
I believe they all have community space.
They all, for...
It's different space.
For the public?
I don't want to speak for all of them. I know there's the
Community room.
West Hollywood has the artist space, right? There's the vertical park on the Decro.
Okay,
I believe
yeah.
the others have some public, I believe there's public community space in all of them.
Venice had the ground floor community gallery and cultural space that they're going to co-create with the community.
Right, that. Okay. Okay. It would be, yeah, I just think those are important parts. And I do love the Decro design. I love that outdoor space. But, the housing's too important. So, thank you.
All right, well, we've had a lot of discussion here. We need to come to a decision, a recommendation. I suppose there's many ways to do this. I think I will take the privilege of starting by saying that I will make the motion to recommend design with skill and see if it is seconded and what happens with that. Is there anyone going to second that motion? All right, does anyone else have another motion they wish to make?
I'd move to recommend the Washington Palms from West Hollywood Community Housing.
And I second.
All right, well, let's take a vote on that then.
Thank you. Moved by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Van Galen.
It's not showing here as a vote.
Please vote. Thank you. We have, the motion passes with 4 ayes.
All right. Thank you very much. And thank you for anyone who has been waiting patiently for public hearing PH1, because we will now move to item PH1, public hearing. And I believe we'll start with the staff report, and then we open the public hearing after that.
Chair, can we take a recess for 3 minutes?
All right, let's take a 10-minute recess, please. Okay, we are coming back from our recess. It has been a 10-minute recess, so we are ready to begin public hearing 1. We have a staff report, I believe.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Gabriel Barreras, here at the City. Item PH1 is a conditional use permit for the conversion of an existing industrial building located at 10150 Jefferson Boulevard into a vehicle service center. We're joined tonight by a few members of the applicant team, including CEO Dan Broderick of Cadillac of Beverly Hills, and the applicant's entitlement team, including Jim Sir. They will have a brief presentation following staff report and will be available for any questions. Through the requested conditional use permit, this would be a vehicle service center for both electric and internal combustion passenger vehicles. The project will retain the existing building footprint with no changes to the building floor area or height. Construction will be limited to interior tenant improvements and upgrades to the exterior facade, parking lot, and air filtration system, which we will detail on the following slides. Functionally, the site will prepare new vehicles before they go to dealerships with tires and accessories and provide ongoing maintenance to public customers for all makes and models of EVs, hybrids, and combustion vehicles. The project site is 1.8 acres in size, improved with a one-story, 42,333 square foot industrial building built in 1966. The property already has frontage on Jefferson Boulevard with ingress and egress driveways at both the south and north ends. The site is zoned Mixed-Use Corridor 2, or MU2, as shown in red above. Vehicle services are permitted use with the approval of a CUP at this location by the Planning Commission. The project site is surrounded by a variety of uses. To the north, there is a facilities maintenance building serving West LA College and a vacant event site. To the south is the Rain Tree condominium community. To the east is vacant land with 6 oil wells, which were plugged and abandoned per state code in 2002. To the west are one-story office and industrial buildings. The site will maintain the existing circulation pattern and driveways. Shown by the red arrows on the screen, customers will enter the south driveway, circulate behind the building to the drop-off area, and exit at the north driveway. For vehicle transport trucks, the applicant will be required to coordinate with our Public Works Department for any circulation needs. As we look at the proposed floor plan, interior improvements will include the vehicle drop-off area shown at the bottom of the screen, 39 service bays, which will be interior, half for EV and half for internal combustion engines. Internal combustion vehicles and air filtration equipment will also be placed at the northern half of the building away from the nearby residences. Other improvements include a customer lobby and lounge area, employee offices, meeting rooms, record rooms, men and women's locker rooms with shower facilities and long-term bike parking, and an interior automated car wash with recycled water. Exterior improvements will include parking lot restriping with 76 off-street parking spaces, including 3 ADA spaces and 7 EV charging spaces. New roll-up doors at the rear of the building, and there will be an isolated EV battery storage cabinet shown in yellow at the bottom right hand of the screen. The facility will accommodate approximately 40 to 50 employees depending on the day, with additional parking for customers. Exterior changes are limited to be compatible with the existing structure. The exterior will be painted white with the addition of aluminum composite paneling as shown on the east and west elevations. All new rooftop and mechanical equipment will be screened. Lighting will be shielded to prevent spillover, and no exterior speakers or intercoms are proposed. Here's a view of the final rendering facing from Jefferson Boulevard. Tenant improvements are estimated to take approximately 6 to 8 months to complete once building permits are approved. Prior to tonight's hearing, the applicant held 2 community meetings as required by the zoning code. The first was on April 10th and was held at the Rain Tree Clubhouse with 40 attendees. The second was held on July 24th and was held inside the proposed building with 37 attendees. During the community meetings, neighbors raised questions and concerns about the following: increased traffic, provision of adequate on-site parking, EV battery safety and storage, overall site security, and the proximity to the oil wells. Following the community meetings, the applicant revised their plans, and staff has recommended various conditions of approval to address the concerns above. The project was noticed with a 500-foot radius, as well as noticed through our online publications and an on-site poster. As of 3 p.m. today, there have been a total of 3 public comment letters received by the city. In summary, the CUP request before you tonight is for the long-term operation and physical improvements of this site and existing building as listed above. Note, all tenant improvements will require review and approval from the Building Safety Division. There are several special conditions recommended by city staff to support the safety and well-being of the site and the surrounding community, including the fire department has required that there be no gas fueling, there be limited fuel load, and all EVs must be held at 50% charge or less. Vehicle clustering will be done in breaks with about every 6 vehicles requiring a break, also from the fire department. And there will be limited EV battery storage to just 2 EV batteries at any given time in that special storage cabinet. Vehicle transport trucks will require coordination with the Mobility and Traffic Engineering Division to determine appropriate locations, times, circulation patterns, and limitations for loading and delivery. On June 19th, 2025, the city approved and conditioned a temporary use permit for the site, allowing the applicant to conduct limited accessories installation and hand car washes before vehicles are sent to local dealerships. To date, the applicant has followed all requirements, including no fueling and limited EV charge levels, and the TUP is in good standing. Accordingly, the applicant is requesting an extension of the TUP until final building permits are issued. City staff has prepared a motion for Planning Commission to consider. Pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, the proposed project is categorically exempt as a reuse of an existing facility. As you see here, the proposed project and its use is consistent with the General Plan and Zoning Code. It consists of minor alterations to the existing building with no expansions in floor area or height. The site is not in an environmentally sensitive area, and it will not generate a significant impact on traffic, adding 159 net new trips for a total of 233 trips a day. This is below the city's threshold for 250 vehicle trips. City staff recommends approval of the CEQA categorical exemption, CUP, and the extension of the TUP as conditioned with this motion. This concludes staff's presentation. City staff and the applicants are here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
All right, and before we open the public hearing, are there any clarifying questions for city staff?
I have one. We received a public comment you just said how many parking spaces there are, but there's a public comment that said that parking spaces are being reduced from 76 to 26, but that's not correct. Is that right?
That's incorrect. It's currently 76. It's going to be restriped to 67.
Okay.
And that's to accommodate for ADA spaces as well as the vehicle clustering and spacing.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, can I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Who moved? Sorry, it's not picking up.
Commissioner Jones moved.
Thank you. And a second?
I believe I seconded.
Okay, thank you. Moved by Commissioner Jones, second by Chair Manthe. Please vote. Thank you. Motion passes with 5 ayes. Open the.
Good evening, honorable commissioners. My name is Dan Broderick, and I'm here representing the team from Cadillac of Beverly Hills. We think that this project is completely in line with a number of needs that I think exist for Culver City in its pursuit of its clean mobility goals. I think that I just want to dispel maybe a few of the myths about EV and what has been occurring in the industry over the course of time. I think you got a fairly comprehensive explanation of what the project is. There's been a huge effort being made by a number of entities, government and others over the last decade or so to change propulsion systems to EV. There's no debating that, and that has been going on for quite some time. And then there was a great effort being made to find charging facilities and create the infrastructure necessary to have EVs, clean energy systems on the road. But one of the large gaps in the infrastructure was the ability to service them. You cannot service an EV vehicle in a conventional service center. The weight of the vehicles is considerably different, and the space necessary to serve them, as outlined by the fire department of Culver City, is different. So it requires a different facility. And you may or may not know that there are more than 5,000 EVs registered in the city, in Culver City. And there's estimated to be more than 1 million EVs on the road in Southern California in the next 36 months. This is beyond sort of anecdotal evidence. I can tell you in our own operation exactly what's gone on. In 2023, Cadillac Beverly Hills, 2% of the vehicle sales were EV. In 2024, they were 15%. And in 2025, they've now reached 49% year-to-date, our EV sales. That growth in EV sales is not just big, it's exponential. And there are limited service facilities that exist exclusively and designed to handle that sort of growth. Specific to the project, it's not going to be limited to Cadillac. I think when people think about automotive repair facilities, you see that in the context of the application. Everyone has an image of what an automotive service center is or what it looks like inside and outside of the building. The fact of the matter is they are no longer blacksmith shops of the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, or 80s. These are modern, manufacturing-like facilities that are pristine inside and out. And the customer-facing areas in modern service facilities are more akin to a luxury lounge in an airport than they are, some coffee shop at a smog shop on the corner of a street. These are beautiful, quiet, clean facilities. The use of pneumatic tools is really no longer the standard. Most of the tools are electric. So the idea of sound and other issues is simply no longer a legitimate concern. Because it's an adaptive reuse application, which was clearly outlined in the previous notes, we are trying to be very mindful of how we're using the facility. And that design was done being mindful of our neighbors in Raintree. All of anything that would be noise generating was put on the opposite side of the building. The traffic flow considerations and all noise generating activity put on the opposite side of the facility. The charging stalls that the initial design are internal and external to the building, making them available also for the community, where there is an additional demand for EV charging facilities in the community. And as mentioned, we think the impact on traffic will be minimal. The nature of the flow of an automotive service center, like a franchise type service center, is that it's structured with flexibility throughout the day. We don't have an influx of people coming in at one specific time each day, because much of the work is carried over from the previous day to allow us to have staggered intervals of traffic throughout the course of a day. So all of these things have been taken into consideration. That concludes, and I am welcoming any questions that you might have about the project.
All right, thank you. So I think what we'll do is we'll ask if there's any immediate clarifying questions. If not, we will go to members of the public, and then we'll come back and ask questions of you.
Thank you.
Any immediate clarifying questions? All right, do we have any public comment?
Yes, Chair, we have 6 speakers registered to speak.
Okay, well, let's do 3 minutes each.
Okay. Our first 3 speakers are Daryl Turness, Lauren Fishelman, and Lois
Chairman Menth, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Darrell Chernus, and I'm here on behalf of the Electric Vehicle Association of Culver City, California. I am here today to speak in favor of the approval of the proposed automotive service facility to be located at 10,200 Jefferson Boulevard in Culver City. I support this project because the owner of the facility, Cadillac of Beverly Hills, has publicly stated that it intends to install 9 electric vehicle charging stations at that location and to make those charging stations available to the general public regardless of the make and model of the owner may drive. The project benefits Culver City because it adds needed electric vehicle charging stations to our community. The simple truth of the matter is that our community, as is true of all communities in California and throughout the nation, simply does not have sufficient charging facilities to meet the needs of an expanding EV population. In addition, the project is in close proximity to Raintree condominiums. The Raintree Condominium Association does not provide electric vehicle chargers to its homeowners who own EVs. As a result, EV owners who live there must go through the inconvenience of leaving their homes and travel to remote locations to charge their vehicles. This development provides a convenient alternative to EV owners who live in Raintree. I urge the Planning Commission to approve this automotive service facility.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Lauren Fischelman.
Good evening, honorable commissioners. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. My name is Lauren Fischelman. I am a resident and homeowner in the Raintree Townhome communities. Been there for about 5 years with my husband and our young son. We love our neighborhood. We love our community. It's a safe community, and I know that part of what makes our community livable and safe in the way that it exists is the work that you do here on this commission. You help shape the future of Culver City, and I appreciate the tough decisions you have to make. That's why I wanted to share some thoughts on the proposed Cadillac Service Center. I have some serious concerns about this project, concerns that frankly have forced my family and me to reconsider the longevity of our tenure here in Culver City. First, and most importantly, the issue of fire safety. With lithium batteries being part of the operation, I worry about the fire risk. As we all well know, Los Angeles is no stranger to devastating wildfires, and it is indisputable that that fire risk will only continue to grow. I asked, does this commission believe in its heart of hearts that placing an auto service center that works with lithium batteries and other known combustible materials within a stone's throw of the oil fields, and not to mention 20 feet from where young children play, is an appropriate use of the land in our community? In fact, on my way here, I drove by a grassy area that is 20 feet from the project, the closest site to the project, where the kids in our community play all the time. And I'm reminded that that's why I felt compelled to come to my first ever city meeting and show up for them. The presentation's suggestion that this area is not environmentally sensitive is frankly untethered from reality. In fact, the Culver City Fire Department itself has designated this precise area as an elevated, in fact, maximum fire risk, as I understand it from the city's maps. Second issue, pollution. One of the things I've admired about Culver City is how forward-thinking this council has been, particularly with respect to environmental issues, like reducing oil field activity and switching our bus fleet to cleaner energy. Approving a facility that will bring more emissions and pollutants into one of the most densely populated residential areas in Culver City seems like a step in the wrong direction, particularly when it's so close to where kids and families gather. Third, traffic. Again, the presentation seems not to have any sort of lived experience with Jefferson Boulevard, a major thoroughfare through Culver City, which is already enormously trafficked, and adding a high-volume service center whose intention is to attract hundreds of cars a day will make everything more congested. And that's going to affect not just commute times, but the overall livability of our area. Finally, noise. The fact that the cars need to come in and out, the doors will roll open and closed. CEQA requires certain assessments with respect to wildlife in our community, neighboring generally, so I had particularly respect for noise. My job as a mother is to protect my child. Your job as commissioners is to protect our community. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Lois Whitman.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Thank you. My name is Lois Whitman. I'm a resident of Raintree Townhouse Community. We actually live directly adjacent or facing the grassy area that is adjacent to the proposed facility. And we have now lived here for 5 years. We've got a couple of serious concerns. We also, like Ms. Fishelman, love the area and love having the grassy area outside to us where the kids have birthday parties and play. We are also very concerned about the pollution. Primarily, however, I would say that we are concerned about the safety issue with the lithium batteries. We understand that the storage facility for a battery and a backup storage battery is on the far side of the property. But that doesn't negate the fact that multiple EV vehicles, even at the 50% charge rate that the Culver City Fire Department has mandated, are all going to be stacked in here, perhaps as many as 20 or 30 a day. Should one of those happen to ignite, as we all know, something that happens with lithium batteries, we are positively frightened of what can happen if that catches, spreads, ignites a fire in the hills, or with the wind, it comes right over the tree area along the side and right into our group of 6 or 8 homes that are in our strip. This does not seem sensible, and we'd like the city council to think about that and address that. And we'd like to hear from Mr. Sir as to anything that can be done to mitigate it. Secondly, the traffic issue. As alluded to before, the traffic on Jefferson Boulevard has really increased for some reason this year in particular. We have newly remodeled buildings opening across the street, as you all well know. That's going to add to traffic. Now, what we're talking about is having a car carrier parked, perhaps, I can't imagine where else they could go, parked in the center of Jefferson Boulevard, holding up already backed up street, maybe closing down one lane to do that. And at rush hour, this is going to be absolutely untenable. Even coming home once the school's closed over by Farragut, which I do every day, coming up from Overland, going east on Jefferson, the traffic's already backed up all the way past Tower Hills, Lakeside Villas, all the way to Jefferson. And I can't even imagine what it's going to be in the other direction at rush hour. So we are very concerned about this, and we'd like some feedback. Thank you.
Your time has expired. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ann Garrett. Ann Garrett? She's not here or virtually, so I'll skip to the next speaker. Our next speaker is Kate Hungerford.
Good evening. Thank you so much for the work you do. My first trip here, I'm blown away. I won't repeat many of the points I wanted to make. I am the board president of the Raintree community, and many of the points that I wanted to make have been made. I will not repeat them. I will say, however, that I am disappointed at the lack of transparency that I saw in the application for this facility. To look at the map that is presented on the vicinity map, if you actually zoom in on that, you will see a couple of wells in that picture. The fact that they are referred to as 6 plugged wells, I stood on the facility property this morning and videotaped wells going up and down. They are right next to those wells. Those wells are the leading edge of the largest urban oil field in the United States, an aging, leaking oil field. Sentinel reports constantly about methane leaks. I know, you know, that we are having issues with the new lithium batteries. I won't repeat, you already know what I'm talking about. If one battery, so what I am witnessing, this is firsthand witness, I have gone by that facility since they've been working, and they've been working, you know, we didn't get to say whether or not they got to move 60 new SUV electric vehicles and park them on that property, which they have been parked on that property, and they weren't spaced initially until the fire department went in and told them they have to space them a little bit. But, you know, 60 lithium batteries on that property at the bottom of that hill, which is dry, it's like hay. A fire will not care about the 500-foot urban, whatever, environmental, whatever paperwork is making this look okay. A fire won't care. That oil field would wipe out that entire part of Culver City, and we live there. Please consider our plight.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Vimal Dugal.
Thank you very much. Good to see you. This is my first time as well. I live right next to the wall where they are, where the facility is, and prior to them, the company, there was a Scholastic company that used to inhabit that building, and they would have. It was not a very noisy thing, but a truck would come, a hissing truck would come about 2:30 to 3 o'clock in the morning, and it took about a half hour to fill its tanks that it had, that they had, and it was very loud. And if you opened your windows, which we do, essentially you were woken up. And I went there and confronted them, and they said, well, we're really sorry. The truck drivers would say, we're really sorry, but this gets scheduled in Texas. And so they have to contact them. It was just all kinds of things of that nature. So I've kept a relatively close watch on what's been happening here now, just in terms of quality of life. The rest of it you know better. But in terms of the quality of life of those who are right across the wall from this facility. So at 5:30, I'm taking a walk. There's already a truck with cars right there, already waiting. I am telling you, we hear cars open, we hear cars door close. When there are people walking, if it's populated by 40, 50 employees, they're not speaking in whispers, they're yelling to each other, shouting things, giving signals, whatever they're doing. They're a part of our daily existence if we have the windows open. Whatever you may think in terms of the cleanliness of and how clean and pristine these sites are, they have fumes. They do change really the nature of. You can smell. It's a quality of life thing. Just about maybe 5-6 months ago. We had a battery on just a little one of those that our maintenance folk use on a little cart. It exploded and burned the thing. The fire department came, and those trees that are there really can light up and flash very fast. And we got a very, very close call from a battery explosion on a maintenance cart that blew the shed off. We had to rebuild the shed, Raintree did, and fire department came and really shut everything down, and were able to, fortunately, before it got to our place across the street, it didn't come. So we got a real-life experience of just an error, one little error, and how great the damage can be.
Your time has expired. Thank you.
That is the end of our speakers, Chair.
All right, is there any rebuttal by the applicant?
We did have the opportunity to speak at the public session at the facility in July, and felt like we had the opportunity to speak to a number of the comments that were made this evening. I can point to a couple of studies that speak to the relative fire risk of an EV versus an ICE vehicle. And the reality is this: At the lowest study, an ICE vehicle, an internal combustion engine, is 20 times more likely to catch fire than an EV vehicle. And in the other extreme, the study found it to be 61 times more likely that an internal combustion engine causes a fire. I can tell you this, and I shared this exact example in July. The person who wants to have a fire the least is me, because in that building are 40 to 50 employees that I work with day in and day out. We would be mitigating all of the risk as best as possible with every known safety feature being employed. As far as employees being outside, that's simply not the case. 100% of the work would be getting done inside. So the notion that there would be people outside communicating or making noise just isn't in line with what the utilization of the facility would be. Yeah. Do you have any questions while I'm here? Sorry, I did have one more comment, and it was with respect to pollution. The vehicles are not running while they're being serviced, because of course the pollution would be most dangerous for those who were inside the building. They don't run. There's not, the vehicle's not engaged while it's being serviced. So there's no increased pollution.
So currently you have a TUP,
Correct.
Right? Can you describe the difference between what you're doing now with the TUP?
Sure.
And what would be transpiring afterward if this CUP were approved?
Sure. It would be more service-related items, warranty work, routine maintenance work, conventional shop work, tires, brakes. Software reprogramming represents a significant portion of what the modern car business is, which is simply computer programming, reflashing, module changing, those types of things. And we're not doing that currently. We're not doing any of that currently. Jim.
Chair and Commissioners, if I could just add, Jim Sir, working with Cadillac of Beverly Hills. The temporary use permit is very specific in a very limited range of uses that are allowed. Those uses are dealing with the installation of accessories on vehicles that have been sold and are being prepared for final delivery to their buyers. The conditional use permit will instead allow a much broader range of automotive repair and maintenance services. And that is a umbrella that includes what is allowed now under the temporary use permit with what we would hope to do under the conditional use permit.
Is there anyone from the fire department online?
No, Commissioner, we don't have a member of the fire department online.
So as for the conditions that the fire department set, has the fire department communicated they are comfortable with these conditions?
Yes, they have. They advised us on both the TUP, which the applicant is currently operating under, and they've signed off on the proposed conditions of approval in Exhibit A. So those conditions include the vehicle spacing, the EV battery storage has to be kept at that far corner and only up to 2 batteries at a time, as well as vehicles have to be kept at a 50% charge or below while they're on site.
Are there any other questions from commissioners?
Yeah.
Yes.
How can you enforce 50% battery? Like, how is that just word of, are we just taking their word that, and how would you even get a battery down to 50%? If you have cars dropping off, that just seems like very vague.
Let me let the applicant answer the operational question. And they actually have some slightly different operational terms that are more conservative.
Yeah, the vehicles, when they arrive from the factory, they're in a transit mode, is what it's called. And they come with very, very little charge, under 20% charge. So the majority of the vehicles that would be flowing through the facility would be new vehicles, and all of them would be well below that threshold, well below that threshold.
Any other questions from commissioners for the applicants? All right, well, Commissioner Black.
Given the concern, first I should mention that I did meet with the applicant's representative, Mr. Sir. In light of the concerns that have been expressed, what are the fire mitigation strategies that you use before the fire department arrives, should there be a battery fire?
Well, there are a number of protocols that exist in any EV service facility or any operation that is involved. The number one thing is keeping the battery connected, because what an EV vehicle is designed to do is to shut off whatever cell is having an issue within that battery. And the number one cause of issues that have occurred, and they call them thermal events. The number one cause of thermal events is the inclination to disconnect the battery, thereby disabling the computer systems that are software systems that are designed to shut down the cells within the battery itself and to prevent any thermal event. Additionally to that, there are thermal blankets that exist, because it's not a quick event, generally speaking. There is some element of warning. The vehicle shuts itself down. It has a warning system, and it gives an opportunity for it to be moved to a location that is separated. The guideline from both factories and certainly from fire departments is a 25-foot radius around that vehicle. There are thermal blankets that are put over top of that vehicle in the event any combustion might occur. But it is a very rare event and has not occurred for us or, to the best of my knowledge, any other General Motors dealership in Southern California, period, at all.
Thank you, that's helpful to know.
Commissioner Black has reminded me that I did not heed the city attorney's advice to make sure that before the public hearing started, I asked every member of the commission to say whether they met with the applicant. So let's do that now, please. You already have.
I did not meet with the applicant.
I did meet with the applicant?
I did.
I did not.
Thank you. Right, Commissioner Von Galen, any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Commissioner Jones?
Sure. So in the transportation report, it mentions the business plan is to, I think it says something like service the LAX fleet. I don't know what that means. I wonder if you could explain a little bit more.
Yeah, I actually was, that came up in one of the public comment letters. I noticed that as well. I think that as part of a broader business plan, I think that there's, potentially an opportunity for the full-size SUVs that are serviced by us currently are coming from LAX to our service facility in Beverly Hills, which for the record will not be closing. It will remain open and handle the bulk of our primary traffic that we have today. So some of our clients are from the LAX market, I guess.
Like rental?
Yeah,
Okay.
Full-size Escalades and GMC Yukon type vehicles, the TCP black transportation vehicles you see all over. Yeah.
And then so I mean, I'm trying to understand. So the idea that there were car carriers frequently going there, like what is that? And you mentioned cars coming right from the factory. I'm trying to understand exactly what the traffic is like here.
in our current use, it is our pre-delivery inspection location. So the vehicles are coming from the factory, they're unloaded off of a truck, and they're prepared there and then taken to the dealerships. And that is essentially the approved use of the facility in the current state. In the future state, though, the majority of vehicles would be dropped off somewhere else because that parking is going to be utilized by our customers and our staff. So the current setup is not what the future setup would be with respect to how you're seeing the parking utilization today. It'll be primarily customers and staff.
So will there be fewer, like, big car carriers coming through?
Almost none, in fact.
Okay. In your kind of like pitch for why it's good for Culver City, I don't know if you suggested this explicitly, but would you say it's better to get an EV serviced at a place like this as opposed to like one of the other dealerships in town?
No, I think that any dealership that has the ability to service an EV vehicle is a good facility to go to. What I think,
I guess what I'm getting at maybe is that is there something that, like, you know, when Culver City Chevrolet or whatever retrofitted to allow, like, were they doing something, not doing something that you were going to do?
I think what you're seeing is if you were to call any number of franchise dealerships today, if you are an EV owner, your wait time to get in for service right now is anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks, depending on the brand that you use and the facility that you're calling. The wait time is extreme because although retrofitting has taken place by upgrading some stalls and different things, the capacity is nowhere near what the volume of retail sales has been. That sales growth has been so great, they can't keep up. The other real issue within our industry is there isn't a technician count to service all of the EV vehicles. The education system hasn't caught up with the demand and the need, so the wait time is extreme. What we believe with respect to our facility and the compensation plans that we have in place for our technicians, it will allow us to recruit the very best EV technicians. They'll have a world-class facility to work in that is state-of-the-art and much more like a modern factory than it is a car dealership, with the most competitive compensation plans in the marketplace. Will attract the very best. So we think that we'll have a facility that can serve the EV population quicker than the current market.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The presentation said that you have an AQMD compliant air filtering system. Is that based on standards that are specific for car service facilities?
I'm going to have an expert answer that one.
Well, I'll fill in for that. Yes, it will be. There are a couple of different specific types, and we have not yet specified exactly which manufacturer, but yes, it will be an AQMD approved, AQMD compliant system for internal combustion engine vehicle maintenance.
Okay. Thank you. And those are my questions. Thanks.
Sure. Any additional questions? Vice Chair Carter?
No.
I did want to know, since you're standing there.
Sure.
I didn't see in the staff report or in the report any indication of what the economic activity would be there in terms of what might result in sales tax revenue to the city. Do you have any estimate that you can give us?
Sure. We're estimating monthly revenues in that facility between $1 and $1.5 million. And of course, that would be fully taxable.
Yeah, so on sales, because is services taxable? I just want to make sure that the number you're saying is taxable, so.
That is just the service and parts component.
Right, service and parts. I didn't think services were taxable for city revenue.
I am unfamiliar off the top of my head with respect to what Culver City's service taxation, where it begins and ends. What I was asked previously was what the revenue forecast would be exclusive to that facility, excluding Beverly Hills activity, and it was between $1.1 and $1.5 million monthly.
Is there anyone there that can speak to the applicability of the sales tax here?
I don't think so, yeah.
So it's my understanding that the total revenue figures that Dan has mentioned are a combination of parts, sales, and service costs, and that it's my understanding in Culver City, as in most jurisdictions in California, that the labor is not taxable, and so it would be the parts sales components that would be taxable. So that is somewhere between 50 and 60% of that overall number.
Correct. Right, yeah. As far as the ratio is, that is correct.
Yes, I'm sure you don't spend your time figuring out how much sales tax revenue this city
I do not.
receives from your business.
Though there would be some business license on the gross receipts, right? But we're not, we don't have these numbers in front of us.
No, Culver City gets roughly 2% of the sales tax, right? So you can sort of take that, the 50% number, 2% of it, it's a six-figure plus number for the city.
Well, we don't have the exact numbers. I mean, they're saying, oh, about 50%. So, but we don't know exactly what percent is taxable. So I don't think, and we're not privy to this exact information. We're just guessing. So if that's an issue, then I think we'd have to, it's more of a discussion for council.
Well, I mean, we're here now, we can make whatever estimates we feel is appropriate. I'm certainly comfortable as I hear that roughly 2% of
600 to 750. Yeah.
Right, so in the neighborhood of 400,000 to 500,000 at least would be the city's set.
Chair, I wanted to remind the Planning Commission that we don't have those facts in front of us. They weren't presented as part of the staff report, and they're not required in order to discuss the findings and decision on the conditional use permit, which is just looking at the land use impacts of the proposed entitlement.
Understood, thank you.
Chair,
all right.
Chair, if I may, Mark Munzer, Planning and Development Director, just for clarification to Vice Chair Carter's comments. The Planning Commission is the decision-making body unless appealed to City Council.
All right, so we've asked questions. I think it's time to take a motion to close the public hearing and then conclude our discussion.
Thank you for your time.
Who moved? Sorry, it's not picking up on my end. Who moved the? I moved. Thank you. And second? I believe I did. Okay, thank you. Moved by Vice Chair Carter, second by Commissioner Black. Please vote. Thank you. Motion passes with 5 ayes.
Okay, so this is the time when we can make comments and entertain a motion. It's getting late, so this may be a good time to entertain a motion. And we have, I will note, the motion that would be called for is in the staff report that the Planning Commission would, number one, adopt a Class 1 categorical exemption for this project pursuant to SEQA Section 15301, existing facilities, finding there are no potentially significant adverse impacts to the environment. Number two, approve conditional use permit P2 2025-0174 CUP, subject to the conditions of approval as stated in the proposed resolution number 25-P011, and number three, extend temporary use permit P 2025-0141-DUP for the continuation of temporary uses and all conditions therein until the applicant has issued final building permits. We can take a motion and then have discussion. There's a second on that motion.
Excuse me? Oh, I'm sorry. You're opening up for discussion now, right?
Well, what I'm saying, I'd like to have a motion and a second, and then we would debate the motion.
Wait, why would we send it to motion right now? Like, I have things I would like to say, and I would like to hear what the council, what the other chair members have to say.
ordinarily, the rules of procedure would say that we have a motion first, and then we debate that motion. And I was going to do that in this instance.
Okay.
So if there's a motion, a second, we would then proceed to debate the motion.
I don't fully understand, but I'll just go along.
You will have plenty of time to make your comments. So is there anyone, motion? I will entertain that motion as stated in the staff report. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Do we have a second?
Somebody must have seconded it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
moved by Chair Menthy, second by Commissioner Black.
I didn't make that motion.
Oh.
Well, perhaps I did.
So,
That's fine. Happy to make the motion.
so for the record, moved by Chair Menthy, second by Commissioner Black.
Okay, and so now that we have a motion and a second, we'll take debate on that motion. I know we don't normally do it that way, but that is what the rules would tell us to do most of the time. We're going to have it that way. So any comments, Commissioner Black?
Based on the staff report, it appears the applicant has made multiple changes to address the community comments that they've received in 2 meetings. So I don't have any further critique.
Any comments, Commissioner Van Gaal?
Yes, I have several comments. I live very close to this. I'm across the river, and there's a few issues here. One is, it sounds like an unacceptable fire risk. I understand that it may be clearing some legal loopholes, but it just is horrifying to me that this is even being considered. I really appreciate the community coming out to speak. We have tons of residents right next door. First of all, if there was, forget fire and pollution, okay? Just no one wants to live next to any kind of auto mechanic stuff. It's a resident that's full residential right there. And on the other side is a skate park. And the other thing you don't see on the map is that intersection of, the closest intersection would be Overland and Jefferson, is one of the most dangerous, I think, in LA, because we just got $5 million to redo it, right? To calm that intersection down and make it more, less dangerous. So that's how bad the traffic is right there now. And to the point where my daughter goes to school right there, and she wants to cross Overland, and I wonder if I should even let her. Like, I just think the traffic is already really bad. But the fire risk, I feel like it's asking for a lot of trust. Oh, trust us, we're going to make sure these batteries are kept right. I think that's putting a strain on our fire department to have them be there to, make sure everything's happening. And I just think it's a bad idea. I don't think it's worth the risk. I mean, we're at behind the oil wells is a bunch of tinder. That's getting into the wildlife, and I just think there's so many reasons. The other reason is, toxic emissions, and it's a dirty business, and no one wants it in their neighborhood. They can go anywhere else and do it. The only people who are, getting any advantage to this are the people involved in the business, on the business end. And, in terms of like EV service, I have a Tesla, they come to my house and they fix it. I rarely need to call them. In general, people rarely need to get their car fixed. It's something you do maybe once a year, and you can drive down the 405 to somewhere that isn't a residential community and do it. So those are my thoughts.
Commissioner Jones? Any thoughts you wish to add?
Sure. I'll try to be quick. I live in the smog check district by the DMV. So I know what it's like to live next to I guess the like dirtiest version of a car service facility. And when we talked about the zoning code, I would not have allowed, even with a conditional use permit, auto service facilities. But we have a conditional use permit process, and we're going through that now. And I'm sympathetic to the desire for electrical vehicle chargers. I understand that desire specifically. Also, living in a place where I don't have a place to charge my car. But I don't think it overcomes the downsides of this. I don't think, for me, that this project would meet the findings.
And is there a finding that you'd be disputing? Because I think we would need to identify a finding.
If we come to that, we can talk about it.
All right. Comment, Commissioner Longo.
Thank you. I wish this project before us was for more housing, but it's not. It's for an automotive use in apparently a location that is, if not zoned for it, is conditionally zoned for it. I'm not sure the precise language. I sympathize with the neighbors, but I see no reason not to go forward with this approval.
All right, well, I will not belabor the point much longer. I think I get a sense as to how this may turn out. I would say I think that it's not responsible for us to insist that all the car repair facilities be in other communities. And this appears to, I did go and I did spend about 20 minutes, I know it's not a lot of time, walking around, poking around, trying to see what it smelled like and what it sounded like. And honestly, if I hadn't poked my head in, I wouldn't have noticed anything at all. That's what it is right now. I realize that living next to it, it's a commercial facility. It's going to be something. And so I think that it's unreasonable to expect that there will not be commercial activity at that site at this point in time. With that being said, I'd like to call the question.
But it's a mixed use, it's zoned for mixed use, it's not zoned for commercial.
Well, there is no more commercial zoning. All commercial property is mixed use, so I think that's there's no longer any exclusive.
My understanding was that automotive service was an allowable use under the zoning.
It is.
I mean, are we thrilled that that's what it is? No. Is the traffic on Jefferson already horrible? Yes, but this is a very small increment.
Commissioners, just to clarify, I'm sorry. It is a permissible use to have auto services there with a conditional use permit. So you can stipulate conditions on the project here at this body tonight to allow that use to be there if you wish so.
All right, well, since we have a motion and a second, I believe we've had debate. Let's call the question on the motion, please.
So you're going to vote, correct? Okay, go. Thank you. Motion passes with 3 ayes.
Okay, do we have any additional public comment for items not on the agenda?
We do not, Chair.
All right, do we have items from members of staff?
Good evening, Commissioners. Again, Mark Munzer, Planning and Development Director. I just wanted to mention tomorrow night, not that you haven't had your fill of city planning business, but tomorrow night from 6 to 8 p.m. at Sid Cronenthal Park will be our next open house for the Hayden Track specific plan. So excitedly that specific plan is moving forward. If you're unable to attend tomorrow evening, again, from 6 to 8 p.m., our virtual open house has been updated. There are some additional building types and height densities that the city council directed that we investigate. So we're going to begin to get community input on those items. That's it. Thank you.
If I could ask, since we have the city attorney here on that, because of where I live, I have to recuse myself from the Hayden tract. But am I allowed to go and look at the meeting?
Yes, yes, you can participate as a member of the public.
All right, thank you.
I just wanted to let everyone know that we will likely be canceling the October 8th meeting, but on October 22nd, we'll have a mixed-use project at 6201 Bristol Parkway and a hotel project at 11469 Jefferson. We also have a full agenda for November 12th, but remember the second meeting in November is canceled because it is during the week of Thanksgiving.
All right. If there are no additional comments, then I believe take a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Commissioner Jones.
Second, Chair Murphy.
Thank you. For some reason, that's the only motion that works.
Oh, really? I'm like, I'm going to say it as I press it, but then I guess I didn't need to.
Thank you. Moved by Commissioner Jones, second by Chairman Thie. Please vote. Thank you. Motion passes with 5 ayes. Meeting is adjourned at 9:59 p.m.